Ameya! Woo, 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 woo. How's it going?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Cup of Joe.
I am Cup of Joe. Yeah, it's an honor to have you here.
hmm
And where are you right now?
I'm currently in Portland. Just moved into a new studio, so back in Portland, back in my hometown, because of coronavirus, and decided to stay for the year and do remote college. So y'all are stuck with me for another
Nice. Well, at
12
least
months.
remotely. We have a couple of questions that we ask every guest, and we'll start with the first. How do you identify yourself?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, artist. I usually say like artist, Asian American woman, um, queer, and I used to identify more as like a social
Hmm.
practice artist. And then I had some mentors be like, as creatives, like we don't want to put
Hmm.
ourselves in boxes, especially being somebody who's still figuring out
Hmm.
what I want to do with my life and where I want my art to go. Yeah, I think I'm making this more complicated. Artist, Asian American woman, organizer, young person figuring
Yes.
out
Well,
life.
that's the problem with the question like that, right? Is like, by definition, it's like put yourself in a box, or like have seven or eight different boxes
Yeah, yeah.
that you have to put yourself into. And I think you're right. We are more complicated, and we're breathing creatures that are growing and evolving and changing at any given moment. Kind of curious, yeah, what your earliest memory is. It doesn't have to be the earliest, but something that you find meaning in.
I was like a really colorful, crazy, chaotic, like very similar to who I am now, but same person, just like 5 years old. Growing up in New York City, and in kindergarten, in kindergarten I went to Hunter, which is like this like weird artsy specialized like pre-K program, whatever, and um, I guess like I had to take this special bus back to and from my home to the school because it was kind of far away. Okay? And basically, it was like me and like all these like third
Mm.
graders and like fourth graders, and they're all older, right? And I had crushes on them, but also they were like really intense and intimidating. And I just like came home one day and I was like crying and I was like so upset. And my mom was like, "Oh my God, like what happened on the bus?" And I just like pointed to my arm and I was like, Duncan touched my epidermis. And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "He touched my epidermis." And I was like 3, 4 years old. And it's just like I just think about like me as this like smart ass kid who calls their skin their epidermis. But I think it's very representative of how like kind of creative and like
Mm.
weird I was as a kid. But that memory really like I feel like for me at least sets the foundation for kind of like the smart ass that I am today
Nice.
a
Do
little
you still
bit.
call it your epidermis?
Oh yeah, just to my mom
That's
though.
my yeah, that's a really you were a really precocious child if you knew that word and you like knew how to use it. Yeah, but also the violation of space too. Like
Yeah, yeah, no, right.
who does Doug think he is? Yeah,
I know, right?
freaking Doug.
The
Leave my
hell?
epidermis
Oh,
alone. I think we're ready for our collaboration. So, do you want to introduce? Yeah, we haven't prepared,
yeah, totally.
obviously, because that's how we roll. But I'm kind of curious what you think you might draw, or what this collaboration might be.
Yeah, totally. Like when people approach me for commissions or to do artwork with them, like I always have a series of questions that I ask um, about like what the commission is supposed to look like. And the two main questions
Mm.
are like, who's your audience, right? Like, what's your call to action with this art? But the most important question I ask is like, what's the vibe? Which is maybe such a little bit of a Gen Z term, but I'm like, what's the vibe? Like, how do you want people to feel when they do this? And so, as somebody who's kind of founding identity within art,
Mm.
what is like protest work and easy access art, I have like hundreds of Sharpies next to me. So I'm just gonna listen and pick colors, and if it's abstract, it's abstract. But I'm excited. I played violin for like 7 years growing up,
Awesome.
so I'm
Okay.
excited.
Yeah. We'll create and we'll see what happens. stars between us, epidermis. Here are the lines we cannot cross unless it's in our dreams. Stars in the sky, leaving red in our cheeks. The sun rises in the west, covers me. Take the white color on my sleeve, Sharpies sticking out, you don't know when you'll ever need. Red tears on my cheeks. All the colors pass us by, pass us by. All the colors pass us by, pass us by. All the colors pass us by, pass us by. All the colors pass us by, pass us by.
Good.
Good. Yes. Oh man, it was amazing to see it take shape and color and form throughout the whole thing.
I really had no idea what I was going to do, but I think it's supposed to be us.
Oh,
That's what it's modeled after.
oh, nice. I love it. I look so much cooler. I
It's pretty regal,
love
right?
it. Yeah, I have like such a nice
Yeah.
long neck and like it kind of is. I mean, I don't actually want to say Soviet, but like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, it's yeah, it's a little propagandy, but I think that's like the quality of protest art and the quality of like definitely like when I was learning graphic design intuitively, it was a lot of like protest posters, and then the protest posters that mostly come up are like the Soviet communism, like really strong, bold lines, and of course like brilliant, legends like Emory Douglas, artist of the Black Panther Party, and but I'm so attracted to the idea of like when you were talking about my art and you're like, oh, like it's so unapologetic. Is I had never heard someone describe my work that way, but people have described me as unapologetic. Even though I have all my insecurities I'm dealing with, I think that um, I like the idea of my work being unapologetic, even if that's kind of a label given to it. Um, no, no white spaces in this house.
Yes.
Do you know who Jeff Chang is?
Mm-mm.
He's like a brilliant. He's a historian, hip hop critic, and he's from Hawaii. That he now is like I think the executive director of Race
Hmm.
Forward. But he's basically like the first like contemporary, established-ish like Asian American like civil rights
Mm.
activist. He wrote this brilliant essay called like The In-Betweeners,
Hmm.
which categorizes like this essay changed my life because I
Hmm.
could never articulate what it's like to be Asian trying to do social justice.
Hmm.
Um, and it's basically like Asians are in-betweeners
Mm,
in sense of like black and white and complicity and freedom. And we are so uniquely positioned to like have the social opportunity to like choose which side we're on.
yeah,
And that was like the first time reading that when I was like 17, 18 was like the first time that I was like, oh my God, like this is exactly how I feel, is
yeah.
like in between, which is a really uncomfortable place to be in.
Mm,
Like I always think about like, I think all the time, like, where am I in
sure.
between? Because if in my Asianness, I'm trying to choose a
Mm,
side. But I think we all have part times in our lives when we're in between. And so when I was drawing, I was like, how do I show
mm,
this? How do I show this level of like in-betweeners? And if it's two Asian artists collaborating and talking about social justice, how do we
sure.
feel about this? So I tried to do that. It's kind of like
Mm,
emulate this sense of like in between. Um, I feel like there are so many good adjectives. Like I feel like it's a very confusing, uncomfortable, dark, but also like solitary and quiet and peaceful place to be in. So I thought that was like a good art piece to kind of like try to emulate while we talk about race.
ladies and gentlemen, Ameya Okamoto. I mean, come on, you're brilliant. That's awesome. Seriously, I wish I were thinking like that.
Thank you.
So you have an awesome organization that you're working on right now called Irresistible. The Instagram handle is @artistirresistible. And if you want to talk briefly about kind of what the mission of that organization is.
Yeah, totally. Irresistible is basically, inspired by the guiding compass quote, the author Tony King Bambara. And the quote is, the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And, the role of the artist is to not only make the revolution irresistible, but
Mm,
also accessible. And so that's kind of the goal of this new organization. I'm basically trying to build a grant program, a grant mentorship program that connects young artists with grassroots organizations doing social justice work and connects young artists with mentors and with a platform and with, most importantly, monetary funding to kind of create art about social justice, which inherently is also creating art
mm,
about their identity. So no matter what your discipline is, whether it's art, whether it's painting, drawing, dancing, singing, filmmaking, um, literally anything, bubble making, balloon animals. Like it is really about giving mini grants to high school, college age people to create
mm.
art about themselves.
It's awesome. If you need anything from me for Irresistible, please let me know. I would love to just like talk to people and yeah.
Thank
So
you, Joe.
@artistirresistible on Instagram. Please follow. And also please follow Ameya
Yep.
Okamoto's uh, several Instagram accounts for different projects because you're putting out such amazing art that I think everyone should be seeing. So okay.
Keep, someone keeps tagging keeping it irresistible on my Instagram, and I've kind of been like, I kind of like that hashtag. Yeah, so we're just trying to keep it irresistible over here.
Cool. Yeah.
Of
Everybody
course,
give it
thank
up
you.
for Ameya Okamoto. Woo, 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 woo. Bye bye.